So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to follow this movie, considering I haven't seen the first Four Bloods yet. The Five Bloods focuses on four Vietnam vets played by Delroy Lindo, Isiah Whitlock Jr., Clarke Peters, and Norm Lewis, who reunite in Vietnam to recover gold they buried years earlier, as well as to recover the remains of their former squad leader, played by Chadwick Boseman. Accompanied by the son of one of the vets, played by Jonathan Majors, the group ventures deep into the heart of Vietnam and wind up encountering more challenges than they originally anticipated. Spike Lee is back, with a script reworked by himself and frequent collaborator Kevin Wilmot, who he previously teamed up with for his last film, BlacKkKlansman. And right off the bat, I'm gonna say, a lot of the energy that film had is once again channeled here, just without that same comedic edge that was sometimes present in BlacKkKlansman. But yeah, this is a very high energy and consistently engaging movie. It runs at about 2.5 hours long, though I gotta say, outside of a few moments here and there that could have been condensed, I never felt bored once. It moves very quickly, and part of what makes it so engaging is the four leads. Within the first scene that we meet them, we can sense immediately the camaraderie that they have. They laugh and they joke around with one another, and they haven't seen each other in years, but act like they just saw each other yesterday. They have such a tight bond that Delroy Lindo's character has staunchly different political views, and they're able to put that aside and remain the best of friends. They were all very charismatic, and I thought they all did a fantastic job. It was especially nice getting to see both Clarke Peters and Isiah Whitlock Jr. in starring roles. Both were on The Wire together, and that was one of my favorite shows, with an incredibly talented cast, some of whom we definitely don't see as often as we should these days. So the reunion was nice, and both of them did a great job here, as did Jonathan Majors, who's coming off another particularly strong performance in last year's The Last Black Man in San Francisco. I'm really hoping we get to see more of him coming up soon. But the big standout, without a doubt, was Delroy Lindo, who is the main focus among these four men. This is easily his best performance, and I'm already hearing rumors of a potential Oscar nomination for him, and I'm really hoping that's the case, because he is powerful here and he goes all in with each scene. I honestly underestimated how talented of an actor he is. There's one scene in particular where he's talking directly into the camera and giving this very passionate monologue, and he was so convincing, I thought he was talking to me at some points. Like, he was just that believable. His character suffers from PTSD and some extreme paranoia, and a lot of that is explored here. The time in the war, especially surrounding the death of Chadwick Boseman's character, Stormer Norman, has a profound effect on him, and it plays a big part with not only his relationship with the other three men, but with his son, Jonathan Majors' character. Speaking of the war scenes, the way this is filmed is phenomenal. It cuts back and forth between two different time periods, during the war and the present day. And you will know instantly when it cuts to the war scenes due to the aspect ratio change. The cinematographer, Newton Thomas Siegel, also worked on films such as the X-Men movies and Drive, the latter of which also had some stunning cinematography. And he does another wonderful job here, if not better. Like, I'm glad this was released on Netflix so it was easily accessible, but I kind of would have liked to see what it was like on the big screen. The present day sequences are crisp, clear, and almost IMAX worthy. And when he cuts to the war scenes, it'll transition by something moving like a motorcycle driving by or a helicopter flying by, and the aspect ratio will change to, I believe, a 4:3 ratio. And these sequences are presented to us filmed in 16mm, giving it this much grainier feel. It would be reminiscent of old war movies, in particular Apocalypse Now, which was one of two big movies that directly influenced Spike Lee here, the other of which being The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. And there are little references to both films throughout here. We hear Ride of the Valkyries play during one of the war scenes, which was famously used in Apocalypse Now, plus lines of dialogue from Sierra Madre are directly referenced in the present day sequences. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre in particular always had this fun sense of adventure to it that made it a blast to watch. And that feel is evoked during the present day sequences. These moments are intense, and the energy would keep cranking up as the movie goes on. At first, the tension is dialogue based as the four veterans meet various people along the way before getting deep into the heart of Vietnam, but then the third act becomes totally action packed with one thing happening after another, after another, after another. I don't want to give anything away, but there's one scene in particular with maybe 45 minutes left to go where I had to stand up watching it. Like, it was just that suspenseful and probably one of my favorite movie moments so far this year. Going back to the Vietnam sequences for a moment, one interesting choice that's made is that rather than portray the four veterans de-aged with CGI like The Irishman did, or replace them with younger actors, Spike Lee chooses to show them all over 50, some well into their late 60s, without any sort of digital de-aging effects. So you have Chadwick Boseman, who's obviously way younger than the rest of them, as their commanding officer, and then they're sitting there next to him all looking exactly the same way as they are in the present day sequences. It's a little jarring to see, and it does take some getting used to, but in an interview, Spike Lee mentions a big reason for doing this was to show how our current situations can sometimes eclipse who we were in the past. And I found that very intriguing, and after giving it some thought, it makes total sense. We're totally different people than who we were in the past, and when we think of certain situations that we were in years ago, we think of it through the lens of how we are now. At least I do. I'd like to think that a lot of other people have that similar mindset. You know, like you say, if I was in this situation now, I wouldn't have done it this way. You look at things through the mindset of how you are now. So these flashbacks show the four men reflecting on their time in Vietnam in a similar fashion. And this way of thinking plays heavily into the exploration of Delroy Lindo's character and his psyche. There's another choice made that's very similar to BlacKkKlansman, which is to take historical footage and put it at the beginning of the movie to use as a critique of society today. And this film is very critical of the Vietnam War. The first clip is Muhammad Ali criticizing the war, and then we get footage of Vietnam itself and the horrors experienced during the war. And on top of that, the Vietnam War took place during the Civil Rights Movement. So Lee takes a look at black soldiers' place in this war at a time where they were not viewed as equal. And he uses it as a way to address racial and social inequities in today's world. And it can be extremely powerful stuff, and it's very relevant. My one thing regarding the social commentary was that there were a couple of times, mainly in the third act, where the critique felt a little shaky. I won't spoil anything, but based on some conversations that were had and some of the characterization, I felt the message gets a bit muddled at points. It could just be from the way I interpreted things personally. Maybe you'll have a totally different experience, but I just found a few things questionable, and I wasn't sure if it fully lined up with the point this movie was trying to make. Overall, I thought this movie was fantastic, and I gotta be honest, I like Spike Lee, though I'm not a die-hard Spike Lee fan. Like, I haven't seen all of his movies, but from what I have seen, this is by far one of his best films. It has, for the most part, great social commentary. It's action-packed, shot beautifully, has some really well-written characters, and has plenty of fantastic performances, especially from Delroy Lindo. It's on Netflix. It's so far the best movie they put out this year. Definitely check it out. The Five Bloods gets an 8.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see The Five Bloods, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you enjoy the social commentary? Did you find it exciting? And what's one of your favorite war movies? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you next time.